Hello, hello. Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Thank you so much for joining on this Independence Day. I'm shutting off the AC as I record this. I am not doing a video intro this week because I am sitting on my couch in a nightgown because it's a Thursday and I am not working because it's 4th of July. And I have to get into the shower and get ready to go hang out with some people. Ooh, excuse me. Which I'm looking forward to. And I toiled over the options. I was like, okay, do I get into the shower and get ready, put my face on, and then record a video intro? Or do I just record the intro now so that I can get it into my computer and I can edit the podcast and have it uploaded? And I think for the sake of time, even though I'm going to be getting ready later, I feel like it's better if I just record this now. So that's why there's no video intro for the pod this week. But it's a holiday week. Give me a break. Gosh, yeah, I have off from work today and I'm going to go to a friend's barbecue. But by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on the day that it comes out, I'm going to be at work because my job gave us off Thursday, but not Friday. And I'm sorry, that is cruel and unusual. What is wrong with you? Do you know where I could be if I had off tomorrow? If I had off tomorrow, I could be, I don't know, maybe heading down to the Jersey Shore. I could spend the day tomorrow at the beach, maybe not inhaling the toxins from my AC unit that literally only ever gets shut off when a podcast is being recorded. And I keep saying allergy season is so bad, but really it's because I just have a box of toxic fumes being spewed into my apartment every single day because it's too damn hot. But no, I'm capitalism's toughest soldier, and I'm working tomorrow. And I think that that's cruel. I think that that is incredibly, like, what's a day? What is a day to make everybody happy and have some morale? But no. It's going to be the dumbest day ever also because no one's going to be working. But whatever. Okay. Enough complaining about that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to this podcast so I don't have to have a day job anymore. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like and comment on all the episodes. If you like it, please let me know. You can head over to Apple Podcast and rate and review over there. Please give me 5 stars. I have 24 5-star reviews right now over on Apple Podcasts. And guys, I've been doing this a year, a little over a year at this point, and I need more 5-star reviews. And I know you're out there listening that have people that have not given reviews. So please, all the links to do all of that are in the description of this show, in the bios of all the social medias. Please go ahead and rate on Apple Podcasts. It is super, super helpful. And speaking of social media, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today and follow me, your host, Kelly Taylor, at Hello, This is Kelly. You can also send us an email to ifeelfattoday@gmail.com if you would like to send me your plight and I'll give you some advice about it. I'm more than happy to do that. I would love to do it. In fact, it's a great segment of the podcast when we've done it in the past. Okay, how am I? I'm good. I'm just trying to get by. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my life. I'm trying to figure out if it's all worth it, not in a staying alive kind of way, but in like the pursuit of passions kind of way. But I think that's just sort of like one week I feel like I'm on top of the world, and the next week I feel like I am a guttural piece of shit that shouldn't have a home or any love because I'm not deserving of it. But so it ebbs and flows. I've actually been watching the Netflix series. It's a docu-series about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders called America's Sweethearts. And that show is like both motivating and more mortifying, because I see obviously the women that make the squad and how strong their bodies are, and I'm like, damn, that looks nice. Like I want that, and I feel like the motivation to work out. And then my version of working out is like a 20-minute YouTube workout, which is like not even a warm up to some people, but to me it's literally I wake up sore the next day. But I mean, I guess the motivating factor of it is good. But the reason why I even wanted to bring up this show, America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, is because I think it was in the second episode, towards the end of the second episode, I literally started crying at the way that one of the women on the team. So the way it works is there's 36 members of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading squad, and every single year, it doesn't matter if you made the team last year, you have to audition again. You have to re-audition. So you lose your spot once the season's over, and you have to, fight for it again. And so this one girl, her name's, I think, Victoria, and she's a veteran, meaning she's been on the squad before. And, she's auditioning, and the first time she had auditioned, she hadn't made it, and her mom is a legacy because her mom was a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader and actually cheered with the woman that like is the director of the whole organization. And so there's a lot of pressure on this girl. And she said one of the feedbacks that she had gotten when she didn't make the squad for the first time back in 2018 was they told her a few things, like, oh, your professionalism, you need to be a little bit more professional in these situations, and also your body. And they told this like already extremely fit and thin woman that her body wasn't of the standard of a DCC squad member. And she talks about how that kind of feedback kind of made her hyper aware of her body. And I'm sure that was already present before getting that kind of feedback. But that was not the part that made me cry. The part that made me cry was Victoria it was just like B-roll basically of her hanging out with her former cheerleader mom on the couch, and she's like on her phone scrolling and looking at like a game that she had been in, that Victoria had cheered in, and Victoria was like zooming in on her body, and on the video it just looks like this blonde stick figure doing cheer moves. She like pinched in on the video to focus in on her, and the mom is all proud watching this like, oh wow, you look great, and Victoria's like, disgusting. Oh, I look disgusting. And like I felt the visceral disgust that Victoria had for herself as she was watching this perfect version of herself cheer and do this job that so many people want to do it and either don't even get the opportunity or get cut from doing this. And she's making these comments about how gross she looks and how disgusting her stomach is. And I felt her pain throughout my whole body, and it literally made me cry. And I think was crying for myself, because I just thought, we will never get a break. When you hate the way you look, it doesn't matter how you look, you will hate it no matter what. And I started to grieve for myself when I was watching, this cheerleader do this on this stupid show. It's actually a very good show. About how I used to do that. And I still do it. I still do it. Only now I feel like I have due cause, because I have the body that I always feared I would and always thought I had. It's a weird space to be. And I, for the listener, when I set out to do this podcast, it's like, yes, I wanted it to be this sort of body positive, radical acceptance, love yourself kind of thing. And I think it can be, but it is also very hard for me, and I just have to be honest. I just have to be honest with how I feel. And I don't want, me speaking disparagingly about myself would cause the listener, or anybody that would come across this show and think like, oh, well, if she feels bad about herself, then that's the messaging she's putting out, and that's how it should be. And that's what she wants to achieve. That's not what I want to achieve, but I am also just being honest, and it's really hard. And I think I took this whole notion of just the statement, I feel fat today, and it just being the echo in my mind since Alexa, please. Alexa, stop. No, Echo, stop. God, so annoying. I hate technology. I was really feeling that monologue and the fucking thing. Damn. Okay, well, lost my train of thought. So yeah, I watch America's Sweethearts. It's a good show. Oh God. All right. That's enough. That's enough out of me. I hope everybody has a nice 4th of July. I hope you don't have work today, Friday, when you're listening to this, like me. And yeah, okay. Let's just bring on the guest. My guest this week is a stand-up comedian. We talked about her coming to America and sort of what happened with her body and her parents' perception of her when she came to America and how she changed. And we get into a whole bunch of great things. We even managed to talk about fertility this episode, which I don't think I've gotten into with my guests yet. So please welcome to the show my guest this week, Ann Chun.
Test. This is I Feel Fat Today pod.
Yes, we're here. We're good. We're going. Amazing. Ann, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Oh, I got not password. I got Ember biting my toes right now.
Kinky.
Yeah. It's not that time of day, Ember. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Ann, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. You're a stand-up comedian, and you're based here in New York City, and you are from Thailand. Is that correct?
Correct. Born and raised.
Amazing. So I would love to, learn a little bit about that, and so because I'm interested in diet culture in other cultures because it feels like a very American thing. So tell me a little bit about where you're from.
Yeah, so born and raised in Thailand, an hour and a half away from Bangkok.
Okay.
But I spent my teenage years in Bangkok, which is the capital city. Diet culture, I mean, it's Thailand. I think a lot of people have been there, and they probably could say that a lot of people there, especially women, are very thin. And it's like people very openly talk about weight. I think that's common in Asian culture. And, I was even thinking about this on the way here that, like, it is so, like, commonly talked about that people would name their kids fat or thin, like almost like a rapper's name, like Fat Joe,
right?
But like your actual nickname is Fat. Hi, I'm fat. Like, and the most of the time, a person whose name is Fat would be a little bit big, if not very big. So I thought that was interesting. I think it's become less and less common to name your kids that, but like based on their appearance. Like people also name their kids like Black if they're like darker skin.
Right. So that's done in is it more in like a jokey, like kind of teasing kind of way? Or is it like literally just like, oh, this is what you look like, so that's what we're going to call you?
Honestly, I think it's both. Like it's a matter of fact and also teasing kind of way. Like it's kind of cute that you're
Sorry.
fat. No, it's fine. The cat, I forgot which
Fat
one.
cat, Ember.
Ember just jumped onto my chair. Oh, but
So yeah, teasing kind of way.
for women, especially, I think men increasingly so, but for women growing up, it's always been weight and how skinny or big you look has always been like such a common topic.
I'm gonna move him. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say for women, it's always been like a very deep and troubling topic because you see a lot of ads, a lot of people. Like I grew up with, aunts and uncles, even my mom saying like, "Oh, did that friend, like, how's that friend? Did they gain weight? Did they lose weight? Oh, did they say that I gained weight?" Like,
right.
it's such a central topic to a lot of people, and then, and yeah, growing up as a teenager, it was pretty bad, where I would have friends who, had disordered eating, and they're already very, very thin, but would weigh themselves before and after a meal. Like I even end up doing that myself. My mom also did it. It's almost like I didn't know it was like disordered behavior until way after. It's like, oh, everybody does it. Like you wake up in the morning, you should weigh yourselves and then weigh yourselves again after you take a dump because that's your actual weight.
Yep, absolutely. Take off all your clothes and just like that's the true weight. You want credit for everything. Make sure everything's expelled from your system. So it's interesting what you were talking about with after there being a family gathering and your mom or aunt or whatever being like, oh, did so-and-so say I gain weight? Did this person gain weight? It's talked about kind of flippantly because like I totally can relate to that like from my New Jersey family, but it's very like hush hush.
Oh.
It's like, did she say I gained weight? That kind of thing. So that's interesting. Do you think it's because I don't know. Why do you think that is? It's just in the culture?
That's a good question.
It could just be like, because I feel like something like the topic of weight for other cultures maybe is less of like stating fact rather than like making you feel bad. Like even just what you were describing of, if you were more of like a chubby kid, you would be like Fat Joe. It's like, it's just very matter of fact. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it didn't start out as like a toxic thing. Like, you would name your kid fat or thin. But I think with a lot of stuff that comes from, I don't know, Hollywood, pop culture, it became like a source of shame for people. Because I was thinking, like I was trying to draw some parallels because, in terms of physical appearance, other things like lightening and whitening your skin is like a common thing in Asia, or getting like a nose, like your a nasal restructuring surgery to make it look more pointed. Like basically westernizing your nose is like a common procedure, but I think, that's just symptomatic of white Hollywood, like
globalism,
washing like our appearances. But I don't know where, maybe weight comes from that also, but
I mean,
I can't say that for certain because
definitively
because like in Korea it's also like a big deal.
I think without us knowing for a fact, it's easy to draw like on context clues the parallels of what you're describing. So that makes sense to me. Interesting. Okay, so it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the concept of dieting may have been introduced at a young age.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So it was introduced. Well, let's put it this way. When my mom gave birth to me, she started losing weight like instantly.
Immediately.
And then went back to work. I mean, she's also a workaholic. She went back to work like within a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I saw pictures of her, she's like, yeah, I'm so proud. I like dropped so many kilos. We use metric there. After I gave birth, I look so pretty, and like she was so skinny. So yeah, I could say, you could say that I was like born with it,
Yeah.
like kind of pushed on like me.
Yeah.
Or I don't
Yeah.
say push, but it was an example that was set. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Because even this whole thing of like, oh, you know, I lost the weight right away. I got my body back right away. It's like, well, you as the child that she created caused her to gain the weight. So it's also kind of there as something that, you know, it really is from birth. It was this importance of thinness, and if something happens to your body where you gain a lot of weight or any amount of weight, it's important to lose it.
Yeah.
So are there like diety foods in Thailand?
Yeah, so there's, a bunch of diet products, kind of like, I don't know, Herbalife, is that what people have here? Kind of like that, where it's like you drink this powder, you put it in water, and you'll drop like basically like a diuretic, right?
Yeah.
And laxatives or whatever. And then, a lot of Thai food is actually really healthy.
Yeah, it is.
And very spicy.
Very
which
veggie heavy.
Boosts your metabolism. But, we also have like more, we have a lot of fried food and things like that. So, but I guess when you say diet food, like what do you exactly do? You mean
like lean cuisine?
Lean cuisine, yeah. I see. So I think that's more of a thing in America, but we certainly have like diet powders and also packaged foods that will say like only XX calories, or like, these chips are baked and not fried, but definitely not as like you see it everywhere in America. And I feel like American diet food options are so extreme. Like you go to grocery store, you have like, I don't know, something crazy, like they have deep fried Oreos, but you know what I'm saying, like that to like
the extreme.
And then but in Thailand it's a little bit more balanced, but we would have like, some of those like prepackaged
marketed
this
is quote unquote healthy.
Yeah.
But I remember when I learned that like a package can legally say whatever. The only thing that matters is the nutrition label. My mind was blown.
Yeah.
I would think I was probably like in college when I learned that.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, wow. So like all the foods I grew up on that were like, part of a balanced breakfast or green, the packaging is green. That doesn't mean it's healthy. What you would think would be common sense, because it's common sense now that I'm a 30-year-old adult, but
yeah, I think when it comes to packaging food and things, America's like number one. I don't say that in a good way.
Right.
Like even in America, salad has a lot of mayo, which confused my mom a lot when she came here. Like crab salad, crab Louise salad. She's like, what is this?
Chicken salad, tuna salad. I know. And every time I like make an egg salad, I try to like I will put in the littlest amounts of mayo to start, but it's just never the consistency that I want. And I end up putting in the amount of mayo that I was trying to avoid, which, you mentioned your mom, your mom being confused by the amount of mayo in salads, which is such a funny concept. But I'm curious. So you're born and raised in Thailand. When did you come over to the U.S.?
I came over for college. So 18.
18. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Tufts, which is in Boston.
Oh, okay.
Area.
Yeah. So had you visited the U.S. in between?
Yeah. So I used to visit my uncle who still lives here in America. He has been a citizen for some time. But we would visit Portland. I would go to summer camps there, which was a major culture shock. Because we would pack lunches, and I was like, it's just funny because once I moved here, I started hearing about all these Asian American kids who were teased about their lunches growing up. And I was like, oh, I was making fun of white people and their lunches with my sister the whole time at camp. Like, what is this, like, disgusting? You call this, like, peanut butter and jelly, like, a full meal? Like, this is disgusting. This tastes like nobody loves you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this tastes like your healthcare plan is about to start getting, like, really fucked up.
It's just diabetes between two slices of diabetes. Oh my God, that's so funny. I was curious about that culture shock, because I knew you were. I had known that you like had grown up in Thailand, but I guess I didn't realize when you had actually like moved here. So yeah, but I mean, you would come to do summer camp in America, in Portland, which is that in and of itself is interesting.
Yeah.
That you would leave to go. Did you look forward to leaving to come to the U.S. over the summers, or had you wished that you could just stay in Thailand?
I think I was excited to travel. It's always cool to. I think there were fun moments in America. Like we would go with my cousins too, and then I love candies. Like I loved eating Nerd and Reese's.
Yeah.
I would eat bags and bags of it. So I loved American candy. So that was what I was looking forward to. I realized later, now that I'm a grown person, that my parents loved it because, you know, when we would come back from camp, they looked like they're hungover because I think they were just partying and having a great time. I mean, that's what summer camps. That's why adults send their kids to summer camps, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why my parents didn't send my brothers and I to camp more. There was only maybe like 2 summers I can remember of like going to a sleepaway camp for a week.
Yeah.
If I had kids, them bitches are at camp. I need my summer.
Yeah. What would you and your brother do during summers?
So, my parents worked a lot, so we would be with my grandparents a lot because both of my grandparents worked, but my grandpa had his job out of their house, so he was a private investigator. So we would either just like chill at my grandparents, or we would like get in the car while he went and processed subpoenas around the state of New Jersey. Yeah. So in the summer, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents. But, you know, when I think about it, we were alone a lot. Like we were, especially once my little brother was born, he's 6 years younger than me. It was like, okay, well, you guys are the babysitter for the baby. So we like, you know, I think we're a lot of time with my grandparents, but also like probably a little bit too young to be home alone. One of those things where it's like, if someone comes to the door, don't answer the phone, don't use the oven, you know, that kind of thing. We got that spiel. So yeah, but as far as what we did, watch Jerry Springer. That's what there we go. Literally like this to television. Yeah, so that's funny. You would make fun of the American kids and their disgusting lunches. When you came to the U.S., were you like excited? Did you feel like you could eat like way more candy because you weren't under the supervision of your parents, or did that not?
I was just excited in general to be like in a new place. Honestly, I didn't really vibe with a lot of Thai culture. At the time, like I was kind of like what people would say, like, oh, you're so like Farang, which means like white or Western. Because like I'm just like a little bit more out there, you know, a little bit left field. So I was just excited to be in the States and have more freedom, including what I eat, what I wear, and going to liberal arts college in Massachusetts meant that there was a lot of weed, which meant, you know, I, you know, smoked a little bit. I hung out with, you know, friends who like to smoke. And then, of course, you know, I had like the freshman 20. Yeah. I think I gained 20 pounds. Oh, no joke. I mean, I have a very high metabolism, but I ate a whole cake one time when I was very high, like a whole 8-inch cake. My friend was like, "Oh my God, you ate all that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then at one point, one of my best friends, he was like, he saw me like grabbing some cookies in the cafeteria, and he was like, "Girl, you better put those down."
No.
Yeah. He's very honest.
Yeah.
We all need that friend. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if you looked at yourself. Like,
damn, he just laid it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I was still, in America, I was still pretty small. I
Right.
still fitted in most of my clothes, but all my weight went to my face.
Yep.
And I remember my parents picked me up from the airport after I finished my first year, and they said they couldn't recognize me.
Oh.
And they were like making fun of me. They were going this.
No.
Yeah, they're like,
were
"Hi,
doing
Ann."
The blowfish face at
Yeah.
you.
And then my dad was like, where is your collarbone? And I was like, that's so funny that you would like shame me on my clavicles, on my bones.
Yeah,
like,
my
what's next? Like,
bones.
oh, how's my elbow looking?
My clavicle's not showing. Oh,
Yeah.
no. Wow. Yeah. Because for most people, I mean, that's why we even have the term freshman 15 to begin with, because it is just so common to leave the nest and go, and you're fending for yourself now, and maybe you're anxious, or you're drinking a lot more, whatever the case may be, you're consuming more calories for whatever reason. And it's almost like, because you did this on a different continent, it almost is like it was like to the extreme, because your parents really didn't, they went probably a good 4 months without seeing you, maybe even longer.
Yeah, more,
Yeah, longer, depending. Yeah. So it's like they go so many months without seeing you, all of a sudden they see you. My parents, I know, would have been like way more reserved. My mom would have been like, so are you being healthy? Like they never would have done that. But like you, it's just like roasting you right away.
Oh, yeah. And it was, I mean, it worked. I, shed all that. It was bad for my self-esteem.
I would imagine. Did it feel bad to hear that?
Oh, it felt awful. I mean, it was already like a thing too in high school growing up where, people would compare me and my sister. My sister's 5'10", and she and I share the same weight.
Oh,
so people were like, "Oh, you should." My
she's
sister,
like a model.
Yeah, she's basically. And like I remember, my mom would flip through the magazine. She would point at the mom, be like, "This is your sister," and then she would point at someone who's a little bit like, who's not as thin, like a picture of like, I don't know, somebody more athletic, because I played more sports. But I was like, "Oh, but this is you." But like for me as a teenage girl, I was like, "Well, I wanted to be like the model."
Yeah, I mean, anything that you're comparing me to that is not the thinner option, I'm gonna think you're calling me like I'm obese or something.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So it's even worse, because it's like you have a sister. Is she older than you? How much older is she? 3 years. Yeah. So it's still enough for you guys to like, she's not an old enough sister, she's still someone you compete with. And she has height on you, which I feel like for short people, I don't know, because I'm not short, but like you're probably like, gosh, if only I could be taller. I feel like that's a sentiment.
Yeah.
But when you have a sister that is like a quote unquote more desirable height or whatever, that's tough. Did she go to America for college?
Yeah, she did.
Did she experience weight gain or anything? Not that you. Oh, she did. Yeah. So see, there you go.
And we overlapped 1 year.
Okay.
So we both went to schools in Boston. So I would visit her like once every 1 to 2 weeks. Come to her place, and she'll cook, because she liked to cook. And she would make like chicken pot pie, and I would eat like half of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she ate a lot of Ben and Jerry's during college. We both gained quite a bit of weight during college in America. Yeah, it kind of like people kind of expect it. Like, oh, you're going to America, like you're gonna gain so much weight. And also, my parents met in the States. They met in grad school in Oklahoma, and my mom was working at a Dunkin' Donuts, and she only ate donuts. So she knew. I was like, well, I was just thinking in the back of my mind. I was like, well, at least I didn't gain as much weight as her. when she like basically shamed me for gaining weight.
Right.
But I'm not that mean. I just thought it.
Yeah.
I didn't say it.
You care more about how you feel, not necessarily about making someone else feel bad. But I understand that feeling very much. And so when your parents would kind of be poking fun at you in a very, very strong way, we'll say, Um, did you? That would have sent me into tears. I would have cried right in front of their faces. I would have been like, "You're being so mean to me," but you just kind of were like, "Ha." But really, it was upsetting.
No, I think I was openly upset,
Oh yeah.
but I think they were kind of like liking that I was upset.
Oh,
Kind of like,
interesting.
hi, we got you.
We got
And then
you.
until finally they're like, okay, actually this is bad. And because I would, wake up the next day and like not eat breakfast, and they're like, what's wrong? I was like, well, you just called me fat yesterday.
Yeah, you just
so
shamed me.
I don't want to. So like, oh, it's okay. Just like, just have this bowl of congee. Like, you'll be fine. And,
Yeah. What is congee?
I call it my people's version of an oatmeal.
Okay.
So it's like rice, but like kind of like goopy.
Mushy.
Yeah, mushy. It's very good.
Yeah.
I like it better than oatmeal.
I definitely have had it. I just couldn't picture what that is. Yeah, man, just the accent. There's just so much more room to choose I hate to say it, unhealthier, because we're trying to change the language around that kind of stuff. But the unhealthier option, like Ben and Jerry's, come on. Like, that is so American, but it's so good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's beyond. But like you said, there's the extremes. There's Ben and Jerry's fried Oreo ice cream, or there's,
celery.
Yeah, celery.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, interesting. So when you had to lose this 20 pounds, did it happen gradually, or did you do it like in a focused, maybe toxic way?
I don't really probably gradual, but like a little bit toxic,
Yeah.
I think I just stopped eating carbs.
Which wasn't looked at as at all toxic. There's a whole diet centered around no carb.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was, because rice is such a central thing to like Thai food. They're like, why aren't you eating rice? Blah, blah. But like, it's also something that my mom was already doing anyway. Like, she wouldn't really eat that many carbs anyway. So I just kind of like modeled that after her and like some of my friends. But beyond that, I didn't really do anything else. Just like, oh, I'm gonna order noodles, but no noodles.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
soup and like the protein and the veggies.
No joy.
I did. I know, right? Life denying. But I did have like another like situation where I did lose weight in a more toxic way after that year.
What was going on in your life?
So I had just came back from studying abroad in Japan. So while I was there, I actually got hit by a car.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and very fortunately, I, came out of it unscathed. But I basically had PTSD, survivor's guilt, and when I returned to school, it was almost like my body just didn't want to accept food. And I just didn't really feel like eating that much, and I remember not eating anything after 4 p.m. even though I would stay up late. So I was at my smallest. Like, people would call me out and were like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But when I looked at the photos, I was like, "Oh, I was not fine."
Yeah.
So I think sometimes like your emotions are just can really affect like how your body consumes nutrition or rejects it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that came like 2 years in my junior year of college.
And you didn't even, like you said, you didn't even realize that this was something that was necessarily affecting you. Because people ask, are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. Were you really in earnest saying that you're fine, or like, I'm fine? Don't ask me how I'm feeling.
I was definitely depressed, but I didn't think that like, because I wasn't really intentionally like eating less.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware.
Yeah,
that
it
I
was
was
unconscious.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really glad that in the last 5-10 years there's been more talk and conversation about the mind body connection, but I feel like that kind of gets thrown under this umbrella of like, oh, that's new age, that's woo woo or whatever. It's kind of discarded as not real, but the mind body connection is so like your body. I've read The Body Keeps the Score, and it really does. Like, you were holding trauma. It wasn't just in your brain, it was throughout your body from this traumatic event that had happened to you. And your body was letting you know something was wrong by one of the first faculties to go when you're in survival mode is the ability to consume. So that makes perfect sense. Wow. So have you ever gone to therapy? Are you into healing modalities? What's
Yes, I have been going to therapy for some time now. Not necessarily for disordered eating or anything like that, but just for my emotional, mental health. I was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. So I see like psychiatrist there, as well as having a mood stabilizer prescription, which has helped me a lot.
Was it through being in like talk therapy that your therapist uncovered that you had this mood disorder, or was there like events happening where your kind of emotions were all over the place that kind of sparked that conversation of a diagnosis?
It was the latter. So I have been seeing, therapists, various ones for many years now. I would say like 6 years.
Of seeing various therapists?
Yeah.
It's like dating, trying to find a good one.
Yeah. The same one for 4 years now.
Okay, yeah.
But she, they're not clinical psychologists or psychiatrists, so they're not actually supposed to diagnose you.
Right.
But I had like a rough year in 2020, as all of us did, and I was just reflecting on like some of the episodes I had, and I was like, I think I'm bipolar, because the year in 2019 I was like basically in my manic phase, or hypomanic phase, and then so I told her, I was like, hey, I think I'm bipolar, and she was like, yeah, I think so too, and I was like, bitch, I've been seeing you for 3 years.
You didn't say anything.
You didn't tell me. And so I went to see a psychiatrist, and she agreed with my self-diagnosis. So thank you, WebMD. And she's like, here, let's try out this drug. I was like, cool. And it's actually helped me a lot.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
But I don't know when it comes to like my mood and my eating and like my exercise, like when I was hypomanic, I was like exercising a lot, and because I just felt I had this like boundless energy. Versus when I'm like in my more like low or depressive cycles, it's I use food to comfort myself a lot, and I still do, and I don't. I think I've become better about like letting it comfort me, but not like consume me, because I think that's the beauty of food. Like, yeah,
you can kind of hurt yourself with food when you let it consume you. It's interesting that you had this hypomanic phase in 2019. I don't know how much your peaks and valleys coincided with the pandemic, but 2019, personally, I felt like I was, burning the candle at both ends. I was spinning my wheels, like just, but pre-pandemic. It's like the before times. I was just kind of losing steam. And you're talking about this hypomanic stage where you had this like boundless energy. You're doing everything. You probably were hitting open mics if you were doing comedy at the time, like bouncing all over the place. And then all of a sudden it's like March 2020, boom, you're done. You got to sit. You got to sit there. You can't go anywhere. Were you bouncing off the walls of your apartment, or had the depressive part of the cycle hit? Isn't it crazy how like long ago it is now? It's like I'm asking you something that happened 4 years ago, which is actually insane to think about.
I feel like we're different people. Like there's like pre-COVID and like
absolutely. I don't know who that girl is pre-COVID. I really don't.
Same. So I think it wasn't necessarily like boom lockdown. I'm different. I think I was still like trying to do a lot, trying to do like Zoom shows.
Yeah.
Like going outside, like walking outside, like by myself.
Hit the track, yeah.
So I think it was really my lowest point. Didn't necessarily come in 2020, but 2021.
Oh, okay.
When I went through an egg freezing process.
Wow.
And the hormones just really, made me feel bad.
Yeah. Wow. Can I ask you about egg freezing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First, what sparked the decision to do that? And second, are you glad that you did it? Like, was it worth it to do it?
Mm-hmm. That's a question I'm still asking myself.
Really?
To be honest.
Yeah.
So I have a joke about this. So I froze my eggs because... really only because it came with my fancy healthcare insurance plan.
Absolutely.
I was I like free stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to have kids. I don't think I will, but let's just try this out.
You like options.
I like options. I feel like it's a free experience.
Yeah.
So, and like, I talked to a few people and they're like, yeah, it's very easy and chill.
I've heard
it was not easy and chill. It depends on your body, but it was not easy and chill for me.
Yeah. I've heard some people say, no, I was back at it right away. And then other people, like what you're describing, it was being difficult. So was the physical recovery difficult? Was it more mental? What was hard for you?
It was the side effects that happened during the 2 weeks I had to inject myself with hormones every night and going to get an ultrasound and my blood drawn every other day. Like, talking about feeling fat, like you feel very bloated in your stomach because like they're trying, all these hormones are basically, trying to make you have as many eggs as possible. So was it worth it? I guess we'll see. I do feel like good that I have options, although it's not a guarantee that they'll all work out, right? And cost is like, since it was covered by insurance, like that's fine. It's more like the emotional and physical labor that I'm still deciding, was it worth it? Well, when they asked me like, you should do another round, I'm like, no,
absolutely not.
One and done. And done.
And insurance would have covered another round? They
would, but not as much.
Yeah. So then it's like, okay, if I have to pay, this really isn't worth it to me. And I don't know how old you are, but the younger you are, the better. So like, that first round, it's like most people at, in their early 30s, late 20s, like are not doing egg freezing. So it's like, that's, you probably had a good bunch.
I had okay. It was less than the number of eggs that they retrieved were less than what we had expected because I think they had mistimed it and harvested my eggs like a day late.
Oh my God.
And it was not great too because when I woke up, because they put you down.
Yeah.
And then right after I woke up, I heard like this woman next to me. It was like there was a curtain between us, but I could hear her and she woke up crying because she was upset by the number of eggs she had gotten. And then they told mine, and mine was even less than hers.
Wow.
I mean, it's kind of like the weight situation too, like women comparing themselves to each other. Here we're comparing like the number of eggs, even
your
though
body can harvest.
Yeah, it's not like quantity, it's about quality, but so I was like, dang, that hurts. So,
Wow, I didn't even know that could be something I would maybe be self-conscious of one day.
I know, right? We're talking about like conscious about my collarbones, conscious about how many eggs I have.
My eggs. Oh no, my eggs.
It's funny too. Like people don't realize. They would ask, "Oh, how many eggs did you get?" And I don't know. I was kind of like,
It's an invasive question.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like I don't go around asking
Yeah, how much you
dudes like,
weigh?
"Oh, how much sperm do you have?" You know, like
yeah.
But yeah, so I had to have a few conversations with people. Like, I'm your friend, so I'm going to tell you this. It's not very appropriate to ask. What if I got none? That can be a very triggering conversation.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't ask. Wow.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm like pretty like secure about it. I'll just tell it. I got 9 eggs, which is kind of low. Like we were expecting 16.
Wow.
Based on the follicles.
Oh, yes. You think they may be harvested. But, you know, that is good. Like there could be somebody listening to this conversation that like wouldn't even consider it being a possibility that the harvest date could potentially be wrong, or like there being these follicles and then like this being the expected number and the outcome being different. Do you feel like the medical people that you were working with prepared you for potentially being a low number?
No, because the whole time they were like, oh yeah, it looks great, like, you know, we're expecting this number, and like, so when they told me the actual number, I was like, huh?
Yeah. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, but it's okay. The whole process was pretty rough too, and like navigating all the bills and insurance stuff.
Yeah, fertility is one of those things where it's like feels like it should be innate because of being a woman or whatever. But I was watching a documentary recently. Did you watch the documentary Dancing with the Devil or Dance with the Devil? It's about this cult of dancers. And this one woman was in it for like 20 years and she got out and now she's, you know, too old, or I don't want to say too old, but like she probably won't have natural children. And she was sitting there crying about how, you know, like sitting in the interview crying about how she's like never going to be pregnant and how that's so devastating to her. And I was watching it just like, maybe it's because I'm only 31. I cannot relate to that feeling of like crying because I'm never going to be pregnant. But that is such a real fear and reality for a lot of women. And so going into the fertility harvesting process, it could be maybe that the medical people, like the doctors and nurses, like want to be as positive as possible, but it doesn't sound very realistic. It's just so, fertility is like, we need to do more research.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think so too. But, you know, I hear about people who were able to have children from just like one egg. I also hear the reverse. So you just never know.
You never know. Yeah. And you said that you're not 100% on having kids.
Yeah. Don't tell my mother-in-law, but yeah.
Does your husband have any siblings?
He has 2.
Okay. So maybe.
Oh, yeah. So his sister, my sister-in-law, just gave birth a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I know, like when you talk about like the topic of, you know, people being grandparents, potential grandparents, it's like, well, if this one child isn't going to make them a grandparent, are there others that might, you know? I always think about that.
Yeah.
Because I think about for my parents, how like my older brother is married and not at all interested in having kids. His husband doesn't want kids. They're like, we would have to like adopt or get an egg donor or something. It would be like a whole thing that we don't want to do. So I'm like, okay, they're out. Then my little brother, I'm like, I think he just needs to find a nice girl. Just find a nice girl and you'll be, you know, maybe she'll want kids, because he by himself is like, I don't want kids. And I'm like, I'm the last vessel of making my parents grandparents. But then my mom's like, I don't really care. But like, I know she probably cares, you know? Do you think your mom cares?
Yes, but she's not like putting that kind of pressure on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she'd love it, but she's also like, it's your choice. She's
Yeah.
very like progressive that way. And if anything, I feel like I could also, I think maybe I'm misremembering, but I think she's also said stuff like, oh, you know, you're short, so if you get pregnant, you're going to look really fat. Unlike your sister. She looks so good pregnant. She's tall.
Oh my gosh, your mom.
She is something.
Sounds like she's projecting a lot.
No.
Like,
well, she's a bit tall. She's like 5'7".
oh, okay, yeah, so taller than
Yeah.
you. Which
Yeah, taller than me.
5'7" is pretty
I'm
tall.
5'3".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your dad short? Where did this shortness come from?
He's same height as her, so I guess for a guy, he's not that tall.
Right. So I guess two 5'7" parents make a 5'3" baby.
Exactly.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So, okay. Interesting. Does your parents live in the U.S. or are they still in Thailand?
They're still in Thailand. Yeah.
And they're happy there. They don't want to come over.
They're happy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you ever go live in Thailand?
Sometimes I feel like when I get older, I would, just because the healthcare here is so bad.
Yeah.
And not gonna lie, the politics and all the social issues do get to me sometimes. You don't really get that kind of stuff in Thailand, or at least not to the extent. And it would also be good to be near family. But I visit them at least once a year, so
that's nice.
Yeah. And then, I would have relatives saying, "Oh, like, you look so good. How can you live in America and not like be fat?" And I'm like, I mean, there's plenty of skinny people with all sorts of weight and looks.
Yeah. But it's people that don't live in America or not from America are like, Americans are fat. How come you're not fat? You're in America now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you became a citizen pretty recently.
2018. How'd you know?
2018. I did my research.
Okay. Yeah, so a few years ago now, 5, 6,
okay.
6 years ago.
Was the test hard?
No, it was really easy.
Super easy.
It was so easy. It was like, it was literally like, copy the sentence, like, and write it out. And then you had to memorize some answers, questions like, what is the longest river in America?
Oh my God. Like, no, that's a lake. What's the
river?
River.
I think it's Mississippi River.
That checks out.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I was like, okay, whichever one has the longest name.
Yeah. I was thinking Lake Erie, but that's a lake. That's not even a river. I know Lake Erie is a big lake.
Yeah.
Maybe the biggest.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think so too. They didn't ask that though. And there was like an interview portion, just kind of like asking about your background. I remember the person who interviewed me was asking things like, oh, like, where do you work and where do you study? And I said, oh, I worked at what was then called Facebook, and I studied in Boston. He was like, oh, did you go to MIT? And I'm like, no. I know I look like I could go to MIT, but I did not.
I feel like just going to school in Boston means you're really smart.
No. There are a lot of schools in Boston, so yeah.
Oh, the academics. So you worked at Facebook. That's interesting. Was it like grueling work hours?
Not really. Not most of the time.
What was your position there?
I was a data analyst.
Mm-hmm. Okay, were the office snacks off the chain?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there were lots of like. Can you recall any like what the office offered in terms of like food?
Right.
I'm so curious about.
The food is amazing. I love the culinary team. They were my favorite.
A culinary team.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they hired chefs.
Was this on West Coast or East Coast?
Both. So I worked in the headquarters in Bay Area, and then I joined a new team and I relocated to New York for that role.
Oh, so Facebook got you to New York?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I
amazing.
wanted to move to New York,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah,
how do
but the
I
job
get the
helped.
company to pay for my move?
Absolutely. That's what Joe did.
It already paid for my eggs, so
Yeah.
how I? Oh, that's what Joe did too.
Yeah, he got his job to get him to New
Oh,
York. Or like his job was like, oh, we need somebody in New York. Like, are you interested? And he's like, actually, I was thinking about it.
that's
So,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, because he lived in the
Bay Area,
Yeah,
San Francisco.
right,
Yep.
right. The food, yes.
Yes.
So I mean, the headquarters, just so many options. You walk in there. I mean, the person who designed the headquarters like designed Disneyland, so it looks like Disneyland, and there are all these like themed like eateries. So you have like the noodle bar, which has congee for breakfast and all the condiments, and then you have like the main eatery. Which for lunches and dinners it varies day to day. We've had like, I think since the economy has slowed down, the options aren't as crazy.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there would be like sushi and like even lobster.
Wow.
It was crazy, the golden days. And
Yeah.
then we had like the Burger Shack, which looked just like In and Out. In the New York office, there are several offices, but there's like a gelato bar, like a smoothie bar made to order, and of course there's the salad bar. It's always there. So for a while I would just only eat salads because it would be so easy for me to get my freshman or Facebook 15 as they
15.
like to call it.
They have a name for it. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, my millennial heart is like singing listening to this because like I remember going into the workforce in 2014 or 2015 being like, all millennials care about is like taking their laptop and sitting on a beanbag chair in the office, when it's like, really, that's what we wanted. Like, it's like just like a fun work environment because we were always so conditioned to be like in the office. So it's like, I'm sure Facebook's offices were amazing with amazing food options because you were going to be spending a majority of your life there, not really so much of your day. Like you could be spending 10, 12 hours depending on the position, it sounds like, in that office. So they better have a smoothie bar.
Yeah, breakfast. I would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner there.
I would imagine.
When like I was like grinding.
Yeah.
I would pack. They used to have like takeout boxes, and I would pack it with food and then eat it at open mics.
There you go.
For dinner. Yeah.
Comic hack.
And so I never really like got good at cooking. And then when the pandemic hit and then I started dating my now husband, he was kind of like, the fuck? You know how to cook anything?
Does he cook?
Oh, yeah. He's a great cook.
That's great. There's always got to be one.
Exactly. So, and I've learned a lot from him. And now I do enjoy, like, eating at home. And, like, even though, I could just stay at work and then eat dinner there, I'm like, no, I want to go home. I need some separation. So it's all part of growing up.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Their dessert is so amazing there. I love their pastry chefs too.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah.
I love it. That's so interesting. So you have been married recently. You got married recently. I don't know why I couldn't get that sentence out. Were you thinking about your body at all when it came to putting on a wedding dress? Now I know you had a traditional Thai wedding, but were you especially harder on yourself or like more strict with your diet so that you looked a certain way on your wedding date?
Yeah, so I had Thai and Vietnamese dresses, like, so that's 2 dresses and then 2 other like quote unquote Western white dresses. And I think when we set the date, I was like, oh, okay, I gotta get fit. So I started running more and being more mindful about what I was eating. But I was never dieting.
You weren't crash dieting.
I was just like working out a little bit more. But with my Vietnamese dress, because it was made in Vietnam, I didn't get to try it on till like a week before.
That's so nerve-wracking.
It was so small. Like they couldn't zip it up at all. And it's not even like if I had lost like 10 pounds, like I would have to remove a rib.
Yeah.
Like they
it
got
wasn't
it.
working.
It was like kid size. It was like
Yeah.
completely off. I mean, I have pretty small wrists and arms, but like I could barely get my arms through it. And we were like, what are we gonna do? Like we can't just have it get made again,
Yeah,
in
it's not gonna
Vietnam.
work.
So my mom had this genius idea. She took it to the tailor, and basically instead of a zipper, they took out the zipper and then made it into sort of like a corset thing
So
where
smart.
you just tie it.
Yeah.
And it was like a crisscross thing, and it had a little bit of an open back now, right? So I was like, oh, that actually looks even better because
Yeah.
it's like kind of fits more of my vibe. But yes, I wasn't as like I wasn't dieting, although my tailor here who tailored or altered my white wedding dresses, she was like, oh, make sure you don't gain any weight, okay? I was like, yes, Maurice,
yeah.
it's fine. But yeah, it was good to not. I was proud of myself for not like feeling pressured.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's something that I have so many friends. Literally, I'm in a group chat today because I'm maid of honor in one of my best friend's weddings coming up. And she's literally like, all the bridesmaids are talking about when they're going to get their dresses altered. And do I go up a size or do I just lose the 5 pounds? And the bride chimes in and goes, LOL, I need to lose 30 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
It's like everyone I'm surrounded by that gets married is like obsessed with their weight. And I noticed that for some of my friends, it almost seems like it was like a coping mechanism because of the stress and anxiety of like the fact that they were not only getting married, but like throwing this big wedding, which can be very, very stressful, especially if you're not like a performer and then all of a sudden you're like the center of attention. And even when you are a performer, that's still like a lot. And I noticed some of my girlfriends, like the closer it got to their wedding date, them like not eating as much, but it kind of goes back to the trauma that we were talking about. Like when your body is in a state of like, when it's not in homeostasis, it like can't take in food.
Yeah.
So good on you. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Is there anything else you want to let the listeners know about you or your experience with dieting? We've had a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I feel like we talked a lot about different things, and it's the first time I've been on like kind of like a wellness centered podcast. So this was really cool, and I think I don't really have anything to plug. I'm just kind of like taking it more chill this year.
Good.
Enjoying my fun employment time.
Yes.
Which
Congratulations.
is why Kelly hit me up. So no, just thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, amazing. Well, where can people follow you on social media?
So I'm on social media at It's Ann Chun. So ITSANN Chun CHUN on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. But I mostly just use Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, please follow Ann. And that's been the show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.